The 1970s gave birth to music that parents feared and governments banned. One British band cursed live on television and caused a national scandal. Another group hired motorcycle gangs as security, leading to multiple deaths at their concert. A third band's frontman was arrested for indecent exposure in front of 12,000 fans. Critics said they were destroying America's youth. But the most shocking part, the real stories behind their hatred, were far darker than anyone imagined. Sex Pistols. The Sex Pistols exploded onto the scene in November 1976 when they released Anarchy in the UK through EMI Records. Even though the song barely cracked number 38 on the UK charts, it was banned from the radio and slammed by critics, but that didn't matter. The controversy made them famous. Just weeks later, on December 1st, they went on Thames Television's Live Today program. What should have been a short interview turned into a national scandal. The host, Bill Grundy, pushed them too far. Steve Jones cursed at him live on air. Grundy muttered, "Oh, shit," under his breath as the show ended. The next morning, the Daily Mirror called it the filth and the fury. Across the front page, Grundy was suspended for 2 weeks. The Pistols were now public enemy number one. EMI dropped them but still paid their $40,000 contract. Records then signed them for 6 days in March 1977 and even held a fake signing stunt in front of Buckingham Palace. But things got worse fast. At Eminem office, Sid Vicious smashed a toilet and left a trail of blood. Johnny Rotten shouted insults at employees. Steve Jones reportedly had sex with a woman in the bathroom, dropped them almost immediately. Later that year, they released God Save the Queen during the Queen's Silver Jubilee. It was banned by the BBC. Stores like Woolworths refused to sell it. Labour MP Marcus Lipton said that if pop music was trying to destroy British institutions, then pop music itself should be destroyed. Ramones. The Ramones had their own version of chaos, but theirs came from being completely misunderstood. During the 1970s, critics mocked their music. Some said it sounded like the noise of 10,000 toilets flushing. Their songs were built on just 3 chords, played fast and loud. Many dismissed them as amateurs who couldn't play real music. Even though they played 2,263 concerts over 22 years, they were ignored by American radio. To radio stations, the Ramones sounded like a mistake. Their debut album confused people. Critics didn't know how to react to a band that wanted to sound messy on purpose. Their lyrics talked about sniffing glue, teenage boredom, and horror movies. People thought it was childish. They expected deep poetry and got songs about chainsaws. The Ramones didn't just break the rules of rock. They tore them up and didn't apologize. Music industry insiders didn't know what to do with songs that lasted only 2 minutes and seemed to go nowhere. The Ramones didn't care. Their look was just strange. Leather jackets, ripped jeans, bolt-cut hair. They looked like cartoon characters. That became part of the problem. Some critics said their influence actually hurt punk by turning it into a joke. They argued that the Ramones made it too simple, too fake, too easy to copy. Radio stations complained that the songs were too fast, too loud, too aggressive. They were blacklisted from airplay almost everywhere. Dead Kennedys. The Dead Kennedys came out of the San Francisco punk scene in 1978 with a message that hit hard and fast. They weren't just another loud band. Their songs carried sharp political criticism wrapped in chaotic energy. Frontman Jello Biafra brought a theatrical style and intense lyrics that made people stop and listen. Their first album in 1980, called Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, featured songs like California Uber Alice and Holiday in Cambodia. These tracks took aim at political figures, war, and growing authoritarianism in America. The band's style mixed punk with surf rock. and their label Alternative Tentacles sold hundreds of thousands of records without major backing. But things took a dark turn in 1985 when the band released Frankenchrist. Inside the album was a poster by artist H.R. Geiger showing disturbing images of human bodies in mechanical positions. A young girl bought the album for her younger brother, and when their mother saw the poster, she filed a complaint. That complaint triggered a full criminal case. Police raided Bafra's apartment and the label's offices. They treated it like a major crime scene. Bafra and the label manager were charged with distributing harmful material to minors. Prosecutors even compared the artist Geiger to a serial killer. The case dragged on for 2 years before ending in a mistrial. Even though Bafra wasn't convicted, the financial toll nearly ruined the label and helped push the band to break up in 1986. Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath started in Birmingham in 1968 with no intention of sparking controversy, but that's exactly what happened. The band's heavy sound was something new. They slowed down the usual rock rhythms and tuned their guitars lower to create something darker and heavier. Their first album came out in 1970 and opened with the sound of church bells followed by eerie guitar riffs. It was recorded in just 2 days but ended up changing music forever. Listeners were fascinated and frightened, especially by the track Sabbath, which used a chord once banned by churches in the Middle Ages. People quickly assumed the band promoted satanic ideas. Religious groups and media outlets labeled them dangerous. But what made the accusation strange was that the band members, especially lyricist Geezer Butler, were deeply religious. Their songs were meant as warnings, not invitations. Black Sabbath was inspired by a real experience Butler had after reading about the occult. He saw something frightening in his room that night, and the song was meant to show why people should stay away from that kind of thing. Still, the band faced protests, radio bans, and wild rumors. One time, a group of people in robes surrounded their hotel with candles. Ozzy Osbourne ended it by singing Happy Birthday and blowing out their candles. The band never gave in to the rumors. When a cult tried to recruit them, they refused and started wearing crosses for protection. Despite all the fear and confusion around them, their message had always been the opposite of what critics believed. Led Zeppelin became one of the biggest rock bands in the world, but their rise didn't start with praise. Critics, especially from Rolling Stone magazine, dismissed them early on. Some of the reviews